Oh, sorry, you just caught me writing in my running journal. Some good stuff in there. Hi guys, I'm going to talk about the next part of the Running Revolution book now, which is the section on the running journal. So the author advises us to keep a journal for various reasons, which I'll go into. Now, although the quantitative measures of running are all important and they're what we're used to looking at, things like pace, distance, heart rate, all the things that you might see on Strava that people tend to think about when they're talking about tracking their runs. We also need to look at the qualitative measures, things that help us to keep track of how we're doing with our technique, which is obviously what we're focusing on a lot with the pose method. So Dr Romanov is keen on helping us to ensure that the mind and body are working together. You can't just use one in isolation. So we need to be aware of where we are with our training, what we need to focus on, what the plans are, things like that. So the journal is a place where we can keep a track of what the next steps are going to be, what we're going to focus on, and reflections on things that have already happened. And it's just a good place to get your thoughts together to help you kind of keep on track. He advises that you can either use a physical notebook, or you could keep your journal electronically if you prefer. As you can see, I've got this rather fancy notebook. Oh yeah. Now when it comes to recording things in the journal, there are 6 sections that Dr Romanov wants us to keep in there. The first one is your personal profile. The second one is goals. The third one is focus preparation. The fourth is post-session review. The fifth is reframe. And the sixth, thoughts and feelings. In the personal profile section, that's where you basically write a heading called My Running Life, and it's where you basically write out your running bio, if you like, your history with running, how long you've been running, any memorable highs and lows, any personal records, any kit, shoes that you've got on with or not got on with, any goals that you've got in mind, just any thoughts on your running history, things that have led you to this point, and just it's a good place to look back at things you've achieved, things you've struggled with, and things that you can take forward into this new phase of your running. The second section is goals, where we have a think about things that you may want to achieve in the short, medium, long term with your running. Suggestions are you put what you'd like to be able to do in 10 weeks, 10 months and 10 years. So it's just a case of having to think about what you're actually wanting to get out of this process, whether it's just being able to run consistently injury free, which is quite high on my list, or any particular race, distance or speed goals that you may have. So you jot those down in the journal at this point. Obviously you can revisit them later, adjust them as need be, but we just get them in there to get you thinking about what you're actually aiming for. The next heading in the journal is focus preparation, and this is something that we fill in before every session, and it's a place where you kind of look ahead to what you're going to do in the next session, think about any struggles you've been having recently with your running, and you pick something, just one thing preferably, that you're going to focus on during that session, something that you're going to just try and work on and improve and just have in your mind for that session. So it's a case of being prepared before the session so you know what you want to get out of it. fourth heading that we would use in the journal is the post-session review or post-session thoughts, depending how you wish to word it. And this is obviously where you reflect on what happened during the session, whether you achieved what you wanted to, just generally how it went, any useful thoughts that it's worth capturing that will be useful going forward. Having sort of planned what you're going to focus on at the start of the session, this is where you kind of detail whether you managed to do that, what you might want to focus on going forward, anything that came out of that particular session that you might want to look at later. So the fifth heading in the journal is Reframe, where you may have picked up on things that didn't go particularly well during the session, but we don't want to be too negative about these things, do we now? So this is where you try and pick something that actually went well out of the session, whether it's just the fact that you turned up when you perhaps weren't really feeling it at the outset. Find something that you can put a positive spin on, take that away from the session as something that went well, and just reframe it so that you're looking at things in a bit of a better light after the session. And the final heading that's suggested for the running journal is thoughts and feelings. Now in this section, it doesn't have to relate to a particular session. You don't have to write in there before or after a session. It can be any time when thoughts about the whole process or your running come to you. Any observations, breakthroughs, it's pretty much down to you what you put in this section. It's just a place to capture your thoughts about it, things that come to you at any time during the day. You can just jot them down in here. Perhaps they'll be useful. You can pop them in a different section later, and just a place to capture your thoughts and feelings about the running and learning process.